Man, it's been a week. Been sick, been rearranging my office, which you can see it's kind of a mess still. I'll get it fixed one day. And maybe I won't be sick one day too. So why not take a break, tell a ghost story, which that's appropriate. Welcome to Natty Ghosts. I am Matt, and this time I'm going to talk about my grandmother's first house. Well, her first house when she moved to Cincinnati. She used to live in northern Ohio, and she fled to Cincinnati because she was in an abusive relationship with my actual grandfather, whom I've never met. And when she moved down here, she brought two of her daughters with her, my mom and my aunt, and the two of them were still in high school at the time. Now, the first house my grandmother bought here was brand new, had just been built with two others. They all looked identical. They were like cookie cutter. And interestingly enough, the three of those are right next door to the driveway that went back to the apartment that I lived in that was haunted. So, a connection there, perhaps? This was in the mid 70s when this happened, I believe, early to mid 70s. Nothing really seemed to happen at first, as far as I know. But some of the things my grandmother told me about that happened there were like one day she was in her kitchen and she used to have like a lot of her big utensils hanging from the kitchen wall above the counter. And at that time, her either grandmother or mother had passed away. And she didn't know it, but she noticed all of the kitchen utensils swinging or swaying on the wall. They all rattled. And then she got a call later and found out it was at that exact moment that whomever it was in her family had passed away. So she connected the two. At some other point, she said she woke up and she saw the blankets on her bed that had been on her were covering the ceiling above her. Like, I guess the ceiling was cold and wanted some warmth. I don't know. I don't know what ceilings do when they get cold. However, the big story here is at the time, my aunt was dating this guy. I don't know the kind of guy he was. I was told at one point that he was like a greaser, where he had a leather jacket and the slick back hair, and he smoked a particular brand of cigarettes, although I can't remember what they were at this point. And he drove a hot rod. So I also heard, I think, that he drove a pickup. I'm not sure which one it was, but this is the kind of guy he was. And my aunt was really fond of the guy, apparently. This little tiny house they had, my mom and my aunt both had their own rooms, and my grandmother had her own. But other than that, the house was not much to it. There was a living room and a kitchen, and that was about it. It was kind of a shotgun house, you just long and narrow. And their driveway went alongside the one side of the house to the back, where there was like a big parking or turnaround area, and it was all gravel. And my mom said every night she would hear this guy walking up the driveway. She would hear his boots in the gravel. And then he would knock on her sister's window, and her sister would let him in, and they would do whatever they were going to do. And then he would leave, and my mom would hear his boots walking back down the driveway. So at some point, my aunt met another guy, and she wanted to be with the other guy. So she broke things off with her boyfriend, and he didn't take it too well. Apparently, he went out driving with his buddy, and he was all upset and depressed. He was probably drinking as well. And he had a pistol in the glove box. So he was speeding around town, drinking and shooting mailboxes, until eventually he pulled into a business's parking lot and ended his suffering. Tragic. Right around that moment, he went to visit my aunt. He tapped on the window, she let him in, and they talked for a while. because they had just broken up and they had to get some things off their chest, I believe. So after he left, immediately after he left, the phone rang. My aunt went out to the living room and answered the phone, and it was her friend, hysterical, letting her know that he had taken his own life. And my aunt said, "That's impossible. I just got done talking to him in my room." And then she looked up in the living room window, and he was standing outside it looking at her, and he had blood all over his head and face. She screamed, dropped the phone, and he disappeared. My mom said that she still regularly heard his footsteps going up the driveway and the tap on the window. And eventually my aunt begged her to switch rooms with her, so she did. And then my mom said she heard the tapping on the window every night. My grandmother said that every now and then she would see his cigarette butt in the ashtrays, and he was the only one that smoked that brand of cigarettes. And to this day, my aunt will not talk about it, so I've never actually heard this from her, but my mom and my grandmother both confirmed the story to be true. Now, in 2008, roughly, when I was delivering pizza, remember I stopped at the place where I grew up and I talked to the current owner at that time and asked him if the place was strange? Well, I also got a delivery to this house. And when I delivered the pizza, I asked the lady if anything strange ever happened there. And she told the person on the phone that she had to go. And then she asked what I meant, and I told her. And she said that she also heard the footsteps outside, although her driveway is now paved. And her husband works third shift, so he never experiences this stuff. But that she's always telling him that she feels like somebody's creeping around the house. And that every now and then certain things would happen inside the house. But that was the big problem, was she always felt like somebody was creeping around the house and she would hear footsteps. So she was happy to know that it wasn't anything really to be concerned with. And it was interesting to me to know that it still happens. Thanks for tuning in. Have a good week.